What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video we are getting close to 3,000 subs, and I think it's time for a giveaway. So make sure you stay till the end of the video to figure out the rules of the contest and how to win. And then the SEC is coming after crypto staking. We got to talk about that. Also, Flux and Dynex both using the term proof of use will work. We need to take a look at that. And then the battle to control microchips is raging on. And lastly, how did difficulty change on all the rest of the GPU mineable coins after the Flux halving? So, before we get into it, do me a favor, hit the like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's take a look at the market. So the time of recording right now is 9:40 p.m. on February 9th, 2023. Everything is pulling back on the news of the Kraken crackdown on staking. So Bitcoin is coming in at 21,898, Ethereum down to 1,547, XRP at 38 cents, Cardano at 36 cents, Polygon at $1.26, Dogecoin is at 8 cents. Wow, it lost over 5% earlier today. Solana at $20.82, Litecoin at $92.37. Then we've got Ethereum Classic at $21.07, Monero at $157, and Toncoin at $2.16. Let's go ahead and take a look at the GPU mineable coins. We'll start with Kaspa. So Kaspa is currently down about 8%, sitting at 0.006473. And then we've got Ravencoin is down about 3.75%, just under 3 cents. And then we have Flux is down almost 10%. So I think a lot of us expected a pullback on Flux after the halving. I suspected that it would come down to about 84, 85 cents, somewhere in that range. But then it all depended on what the rest of the market did after that. And it looks like the rest of the market is pulling back on the staking SEC news. So yeah, I think we could see further downside on Flux. Let's zoom out on this chart a little bit. So in my video that you guys didn't get to see from yesterday that I recorded, I was saying that, looking at this chart, what would you think comes next? I think it's pretty apparent, but you never know. Anyways, let's take a look at just a couple more. Let's take a look at Radiant. So Radiant is down over 14% right now, sitting at 0.0005569. And then let's take a look at Nexa also. Wow, Nexa's up 8%, and was up even higher than that actually. Currently sitting at 0.00001077, and it got up to 112. Not bad. Okay, let's take a look at emissions for today. So Chia coming in at 357,000 a day in emissions. Kaspa at 144,000. It's pulled back quite a bit. I think we're at about 160,000 the last couple of days. Monero's down to 64,000. Ergo at 64,000. Flux is down to 35,000. We were at, I think, 62,000 previously, somewhere around there. Dynex has actually pumped up a little bit. Even though the price is down, the emissions has jumped up to 25,000, which is kind of weird. Difficulty on Dynex has climbed 22% over the last 7 days. And Bitcoin has stayed the same. Dogecoin is down about 18%. Litecoin's about the same. Kaspa is up almost 9% in difficulty. Monero is going sideways. Ergo is up 3.34%. And Flux is down 38%. We're going to take a look at the rest of them in more detail here in just a moment. Let's move on and take a look at profitability on a single 3070 at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. At this very moment, Nexa is the most profitable, coming in at 9 cents a day in profit, followed by Dynex at 7 cents, Radiant at 2 cents, Lithium at -1 cent, Kaspa at -1 cent, Ergo -3 cents, Ethereum, POW, and Lithium -4 cents, Cortex -4 cents, Ravencoin -7 cents, Nexa -9 cents, and it just gets worse from there. Flux all the way down to -12 cents, and people are still mining it. We cannot take a look at CPU mining profitability on Rapid Mining's calculator, unfortunately, because it's not populating CPUs. So I don't know what's up with that. So we're going to move on to ASIC miner profitability. And you're going to notice right off the top, the KA3 profitability has dropped substantially. Yesterday, we were at about $43 a day in profitability, and right now we're sitting at $32.53. The K7 coming in at $16.82. We've got the Gold Shell SC6 at $4. Jazzminer X4 at $3.66. Jazzminer X16 sitting at $3.43. Let's see, Gold Shell KD Max coming in at 43 cents a day in profit. That's rough. That is a third of what it was a couple of days ago. And reason being, well, for one, the price of Kadena is down about 7%, but difficulty is on a tear. Look at this. Just a few days ago, let's see here, this was February 1st, we were sitting at 313 on difficulty, and we are up to 386 currently. So that's, yeah, roughly about a 20% increase or so, somewhere around there. Quick math doesn't work for me, sorry. But yeah, it's looking pretty rough for Kadena, so any of you out there that just bought some of the older ASICs, I feel for you, man. It's going to be a tough one to see where this goes from here. Something that I noticed in Discord for Kaspa is we're getting really, really close to the completion of the full Rust rewrite. So they said P2P infrastructure was recently completed and merged into Rust codebase. The new and legacy nodes are speaking to each other and exchanging data successfully. Now we can implement the full P2P flows, which is fantastic. Now, for some of you, this may just sound like Greek nonsense, may not make any sense, but the implementation of Rust being completed is a really, really big deal, and it's going to open up a lot of different doors and garner a lot of attention. So be sure to continue to pay attention to what's going on with Kaspa. Really big things are coming. And I want to talk about this article that I saw on Cointelegraph in regards to Hester Peirce, basically giving her 2 cents on the crackdown for staking with Kraken. So I'm not going to read this entire article, but I want to point out a couple of things here. So she says, today the SEC shut down Kraken's staking program and counted it as a win for investors. I disagree and therefore dissent. And then they link this whole lengthy little article that she wrote with her feelings about the situation. But you know what? I feel like there's only one or two scenarios in regards to Hester Peirce. She is either A, a really good actor, or B, a coward. And the reason I say that is because we absolutely know that corruption is at the highest levels at the SEC. And if she is too scared and weak to be a whistleblower, then she's not really on our side. She can, write all these articles and talk a big game, but what actions is she taking? I don't see a whole lot of action. I see a lot of talk and not a lot of action. And the other scenario is she's just an actor in this big play that they're putting on for us. And either one wouldn't surprise me in the least. But I'll leave a link to these if you guys want to read all the way through them. But I want to move on and talk about something that I saw on the Joe Rogan Experience. He had a guest named Adam Curry talking about 40% of the US dollars in existence were printed in the last 12 months. I think it's actually in the last 2, maybe 3 years. But there's a couple of things that he pointed out that I had suspicions around, but I couldn't quite place my finger on it. And one of those suspicions is, why are we letting people through the border in droves? You know, it seems like a lot of people are upset about the immigration situation. I live in Texas, so I hear it all the time. I got to listen to Governor Abbott complaining about Biden not doing anything about the border and Kamala Harris not doing anything. And I know that there is a reason that they're not doing it. The problem is they're not transparent with their reason. And maybe it's a good reason. And Adam points out in this particular video that because of the modern monetary theory that we're currently on right now, basically what we're doing is the same thing that Japan did a long time ago, where they just simply print as much money as they want to. The fundamental flaw to this is Japan, their population was decreasing and it hurt them drastically. But if you can bring in more people, then printing as much money as you want to can continue to do good things. Now, you're going to have these balancing acts like we're doing right now with the interest rates and so forth. But, you know, I hadn't really thought that far about why we weren't securing the border more and why they didn't seem to care so much about as many illegal immigrants that are coming into the country. But it all has to do with modern monetary theory. So I'll leave a link to this down in the description below so that you can hear the entire thing. I'm pretty sure we'll get some issues with YouTube if I play this particular clip. And then another thing that I wanted to point out to you guys is a video that I posted 5 months ago. This video only has 105 views, which was really pathetic because it's actually one of my longest videos. It's extremely detailed in the discovery of how screwed up the monetary system is. If you've ever heard of a movie called Zeitgeist, there's one that talks specifically about the intricacies of the monetary system that we utilize and all of the flaws that are in it. And yeah, I find it to be a pretty insightful video, and if you guys have a chance, please watch that. I know it's kind of long. It's probably like 35-40 minutes long, but some decent things to learn in there, especially if you're not familiar with how the monetary system works in full detail. Anyways, moving on. I saw this tweet from Daniel Keller in regards to Dynex using the term proof of useful work. Now, he doesn't call Dynex out by name, but he says, in light of recent projects claiming to be proof of useful work, Flux will begin to migrate the Zelhash algo name to Flux proof of useful work. This update will take a couple of weeks and will be completed to ensure no confusion about who is doing real, legitimate, useful work. So somebody commented something funny about never tell them your next move, which I agree. It's oftentimes not in your best interest to tell people what you plan on doing. But I will say, if I was Daniel, I'd be extremely aggravated about another project using a term that they coined, or at least I believe they coined it. I don't know for certain, and if you do, please leave a comment down below. But you know, I'll give a little bit of pushback here for just a moment. So as far as I know, proof of useful work is not implemented yet on Flux. I think what we're going to be doing in the future with proof of useful work is going to revolve around folding, some AI, some rendering, things of that nature. But do we currently have proof of useful work? I don't think so. Now, Dynex is claiming that they have legitimately used proof of useful work, and they have sent a message to me. They want to demonstrate how it operates, and I'm going to take my time and dive into that and share my findings with you guys. But yeah, I just don't know. You know, as far as, I'll say this, Dynex using the term proof of useful work is pretty underhanded. I don't like that. Find a different term. Use a different term. Why do they have to use that? And as far as Daniel, you know, putting out this tweet, I probably would do the same. But, you know, as far as who is going to bring the technology to market first, that's going to be a tough one. So stay tuned. Next, I saw this particular article. The battle to control microchip supplies will define the 21st century, and I highly agree. I'm not going to read this entire article, but I will link it down below, and I highly recommend that you guys go through this to have a really good understanding of everything that's going on with weaponizing the semiconductor industry and how all of these things are playing out, not only for the US and China, but also Taiwan, and then everybody affiliated with TSMC. You've got AMD, Nvidia, Intel. This is some really big stuff that's going to affect our future, guys, and you need to pay attention to it. And then also, the IRS is broadening its tax requirements for crypto to encompass everyone. So they're, I don't want to say really changing a whole lot, but one of the things that I noticed is they're changing the term from, what was it? Let's see if I can find it here. Sorry, I should have been prepared. Oh yeah, here we go. They're changing it from virtual currencies to digital assets. And they're basically saying that all investors who received, earned, transferred, or sold digital assets in 2022 with the purpose of generating revenue are subject to the new requirements, as the Forbes article explains. And they're just doubling down, guys. So, you know, I hope you currently have a way to track all of your transactions, because I would highly recommend not avoiding Uncle Sam when it comes to this, because it will come with a vengeance. So, if you're curious what I'm mining right now, I'm back on Nexa. I did jump on Radiant yesterday, put most of the farm towards it. And the reason I did that was at the behest of Viper.net. They are basically neck and neck with our plant as far as Radiant's hash rate. And I would really like to see them get up to number 2. Wooly Pulley is currently sitting at number 1. It seems like no matter what Wooly Pulley touches, they always are going to be on top. And if you are currently using Wooly Pulley, they have the majority of the hash rate on Radiant, which is not a good thing. I need you guys to do your part and decentralize this stuff. Let's make sure that we don't have to worry about 51% attacks. And if you're currently on our plant, I just want to remind you that they conspired with WildRig to control 100% of Nexa's hash rate for months with zero remorse whatsoever. I mean, it was talked about in Discord. It's been admitted. It's all out there in the open. And, you know, I personally am not going to support a player or an actor like that. So far, I really like ViperNet's user face. They're GUI. There are several other pools out there to choose from, but by and far, I've enjoyed using this one the most, and the guys seem to be pretty cool. Now, am I being a bit biased? Perhaps, but you know, part of my job is to call out the things that I'm seeing, and so far, from what I can tell, these guys appear to be pretty good actors in the space, and I want to support that kind of stuff, and I hope that you guys do too. So let's move on and talk about the difficulty and hash rate changes on all the GPU mineable coins now that Flux has halved. So as you can see, we got up to roughly about 8.7 megasouls on Flux, and then shortly after the halving we have dropped down to 5.8, and I would have expected a lot of hash rate to come on to other networks. Now I do suspect that over the course of the next week and perhaps even further, we're going to see this drop even further. But how has it affected the other GPU mineable coins so far? So first, we're looking at Dynex here, and the halving was on the 8th. We're currently looking at the 7th here. So we were at about 7.2 megahash, and now we are currently sitting at 7.84. So definitely an increase, but not a significant one. And then looking at Kaspa on the, let's see, the 7th, we were at 352, and we're currently sitting at 358, which is also an increase, but not much of one. But if you go back a few days prior to that, like February 4th, we were down to the 330 range. So it has jumped up quite a bit. I don't know if some of that's coming over from Flux. I would suspect some of it is, but not all. And then Nexa, now this one's going to be hard to tell because with the release of Ravencoin 1.3.5, by the way, 1.3.6 has already been released within 24 hours of the first one, and then also LOL Miner version 1.67, both of those took place on the, I think, the evening of the 6th, which we were at about 9.25 terahash, and we're currently sitting at 11.69. And both of those miners increased hash rates roughly by about 30%. So I can't say that we can account all of this from miners leaving Flux. I think that has more to do with the new miner releases. And then we've got Radiant, which has actually gone down. On the 7th, we were sitting at 26.94, and we're down to 22.49, which is pretty drastic. Next, let's take a look at Ergo. So Ergo on the 7th was sitting at roughly 30 terahash, and right now it's sitting at 31.24. And so that one has increased a little bit since the halving. And then Cortex, I'm also not going to account all of this hash rate increase because of miners leaving Flux. Cortex had a significant price pump, and as you can see, this pump started back on the 5th. Now on the 7th, we were sitting at about 128. We peaked at around 134, and now we're down to 127. And then the next one is Ethereum Classic. So on the 7th, we were sitting at 126 terahash, currently sitting at 126 terahash. And then the next one, Ethereum POW, it was at 17.27, currently sitting at 17. And then ETH POW, or excuse me, Proof of Memes. Proof of Memes on the 7th was sitting at 103 gigahash, jumped up to 116 gigahash, and we're currently sitting at 104. So surprisingly, or to my surprise, none of the rest of the GPU mineable coins hash rates have increased, which is telling me that the people who jumped off of Flux have just simply turned off, which I suspect that they've probably mined Flux for so long that they don't even know what to go to. They probably didn't, they didn't account for having to figure out their overclocks on the rest of these coins, and they're probably shut off trying to figure out what comes next. So if you're in that camp, leave a comment down below. I want to know if you were mining Flux prior to the halving and now you're shut off. Are you going to stay shut off, or are you trying to figure out what you're going to mine next? All right, so moving on, last couple of things here. Did want to mention again that Rigel Miner does have a new version. It does seem to increase efficiency a little bit more hash rate, and from what I've heard, it is a bit more stable. I haven't had any problems with 1.3.5 so far, but I haven't installed 1.3.6 yet because it isn't added to Hive, and man, I just got through installing the beta version of 1.3.5, so I'm going to give Hive a couple of days. They've actually been pretty good about updating pretty quickly, so I'll just wait a couple of days and see if they update it, and then we'll do some testing on it as well. And then as far as contest rules, so here we go. We are going to have a contest, and the winners are going to receive, the first place is going to get 3 days of my farm's hash rate towards, well, I haven't decided yet. Maybe a coin of your choice, but it depends. I would guess either we're going to do Kaspa, we're going to do Nexa, we're going to do Dynex, or we're going to do Flux, which I don't know why you would want to do Flux, but if that's what you want, I'll give you what you want. And then second prize is going to get 300 Kaspa. And then third prize, and I'm still yet to work this out with Coastal Crypto, they have an NFT they want to give away. I don't know if they have multiple NFTs or just one, and what we need to do to qualify for their giveaway on the NFT. But as far as the first and second prize, what we're going to need is you must be a subscriber to the channel, obviously. And two, I need you to leave a comment down below with your farm's TPA score. Now, if you don't know what the TPA score is, then you need to refer back to my previous videos. TPA stands for Total Performance Average. And let me show you what I mean here. So, get into the right account here. So the TPA spreadsheet is a breakdown with every single GPU, all of their specs like bus size, CUDA cores, memory bandwidth, and clock speeds. And using this calculator, it spits out a number here to tell you how your card compares to other cards. And the reason that I've made this spreadsheet, and several of you already know this, but I want to get away from describing the size of our farm in Ethereum's hash rate. It's gone. We're not going back to it. We need a new standard. I want to see this get adopted. So you need to leave a comment on this video with your score. All you need to do is just click on this link. You're going to copy all of this, and then you're going to File, New, Spreadsheet, and then you're going to paste it. Once you've pasted it, you've got your own editable version of this, and you can just go in here and adjust your quantity on how many cards you have, and it's going to spit out your TPA score down here at the bottom. So let's see those TPA scores. Appreciate you guys watching. Do me a favor before you go, hit the like, and if you haven't already subscribed, definitely subscribe and enter the contest, and can't wait to announce the winners. Have a good one. See you on the next one.